Right, and we should be live now. Hopefully we're live now. I'm just going to go into the comments thing. Got a few. Hello everyone. Thanks for coming on board. I'm fairly new to this StreamYard thing. James has talked me into doing it. He's my first guest on here, so I've had a couple of little goes at doing things on my own, but this is my first chat with anyone on here. So James is my first guest. If anyone's got any questions for either James or myself, don't hesitate to put some comments or questions or anything like that on there. As everyone's probably aware, there was a little spat between James and a guy called Nobby who decided to throw around the allegation of James being a nonce, and obviously that's a serious allegation, and it should be backed up. If someone is a nonce, it should be backed up. If someone isn't a nonce, it shouldn't be said, because A, it's not nice for the person who it's said about, and B, it cheapens the name for people that actually are nonces. So obviously, I don't believe James is a nonce, or else I wouldn't have him on here. So he can probably go into more detail about what happened with that. So I'll just give James a chance to introduce himself and see what he's got to say. And then if people want to put some questions in the comments thing, I don't know what I'm doing wrong really, because I only seem to get YouTube comments on here. I'm aware people do. I'm aware people do post comments from Facebook, but I haven't been seeing them for some reason. It's everything on here is ticked, unless it's, I'm not sure. Well, anyway, if you're posting on Facebook and we're not responding, it's because we can't see them. So if anyone's got anything important to say or ask, head over to YouTube instead. It's on my YouTube channel. So head over to YouTube, and you're better off asking questions on there. I think I'll look into this, and hopefully next time it'll work out better. Okay, then James, do you want to unmute yourself, or do I have to do it? Or?
Yeah, no, I've unmuted. Thanks I feel quite honoured that I'm your first guest on StreamYard, so I've got to thank you for that. But yeah, I have been badgering you to come and join StreamYard. So yeah, thank you for having me on. Good evening to everyone in the chat. So yeah, firstly, I suppose just to talk about what happened with the little veteran again. Yeah, he just started throwing out the nonce. Well, I think it was on a live stream, and someone had sent it to me and said, "Oh, have you seen what this person's been saying?" So obviously, I saw it, tried contacting him to get it resolved, asking him to apologise, and he ignored me. And then just by chance, I came across him at the demonstration on Wednesday. And but that wasn't I bumped into a few other blokes as well on Wednesday. So it was a bit of a weird day, and ultimately, I think it's. When people lie about you, and they lie about you to that extent, they put your safety in danger. And half of me is thinking whether this has been done on purpose to try and get people to attack me, or whether it's just a numbnuts that's talking rubbish. Because I've been trying to look a bit deeper into it, and just going through a couple of his live streams, and it's as clear as day that he's not honest and that he's a grifter. I mean, I know I'm definitely correct in saying this. You're an ex-veteran, aren't you, Tommy? You served in the army, didn't you? Yeah. Oh, he's muted. But yeah. And this is the thing. You don't I respect every single person that has served in our armed forces, but at the same time, you can't act like a dickhead and then play the veteran card, because it simply doesn't work like that. And that's what it is at the end of the day. If these people, and I'm quite open and honest, that I want to speak rather than get into stupid arguments like that. I'd rather debate the person and have it out, whatever we disagree with. But these people don't want to do it, and they don't want to do it because they know that they'll be exposed. Look, how many people like Nobby have come along into this movement over the past couple of years? They come and they go, and they see that you can make money out of bulldog nationalism. It's that you can make a bit of money, and that's basically what they're doing. They're not offering any solutions to the problems that we're facing. And what you're finding is as well, they're also attacking genuine nationalists, genuine people that have got the best interest of our people and our country at heart, and they're attacking those to try and discredit them because they don't want anybody else to get any of the attention or to have anybody else listen to them. And it in a way, it's like gatekeeping, because they're not providing solutions. And I'm sure everybody that's involved in political activism, the reason they got involved is because they wanted to change things for the better. They didn't want to sit on YouTube live streams and earn money. They wanted to change the country. And I think that's where it's got lost a bit on the Civ Nat side. But when they've got a role model like Tommy Robinson to look up to, it's not exactly hard to see why these people behave like that. And just to go on to that again, I am going to keep mentioning this on most streams that I go on, the fact that Mr. Robinson has, to attack me, tried to bring my daughter into a political argument, he put a meme out. I'm not going to say what it is, but that's what he did. And he attacked my child. And this is the level that they'll stoop to, rather than act like a man and come and or get in touch with me and say, okay, I don't agree with your political stance. I'm going to show you off. I'm going to debate you, and I'm going to make you fade away into irrelevancy. And he's not done that. If anything, he's just, I don't know. We seem to have got under his skin. But these people, I get it all the time. People attacking me about my daughter. People attacking me about my partner, and this is what they do because they haven't got anything else to attack us with. So they try and they hit low. They go after your family members, and it's disgraceful, really. And it's not what activism's about, really. Is everyone struggling to hear me? Oh no.
I can hear you.
I was just going through one of the comments. I'll have it a bit closer to me. I'm doing it on my phone, but yeah. So it's certainly been an interesting week or so, and I suppose when these arguments and disputes happen, it takes away from what we're actually fighting against, and then you end up in a spat with that person for a while. Although that's the trouble. I hold grudges, so I'm not going to let it go easily. But like I said, I think the best thing that we can do to them is to bring more people over to nationalism and true nationalism. People shouldn't be afraid to defend white people. They shouldn't be afraid to say the word white. They shouldn't be afraid to stick up for British people. And unfortunately, you've got children in schools now that are, well, not children, say teenagers, that can't voice their political opinions because the schools are so left wing. And, we're going down a scary path. But yeah, I've gone on for far too long. I'll pass back over to you, mate.
That's when, it's a good point about the schools as well. Yeah, kids, teenagers can't voice their political opinions, and that goes right onto university and anywhere really. In places of work, people can't say I have to keep my mouth shut all the time at work, because if I was regularly voicing my political opinion, I wouldn't have any work. But there's people at work that I can talk to, but I wouldn't discuss political things with most people at work. Yeah. And also,
that's the joy of being. See, I work for myself now, so that's the joy of being self-employed. Obviously, with all the stuff that happened last year, it made it nigh on impossible for me to get just an ordinary, not an ordinary job, a normal job. One that, so I have to, This is what people don't understand. This activism, it really does start to interfere with your life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
it does cause a lot of problems.
A lot of people have lost their jobs and things like that. I know one guy who lost his job for attending a Remembrance Day parade with the National Front. I don't even think he was a member at the time. He might have been, but he got photographed on a Remembrance Sunday, and he lost his job over it. And other people have lost. It's mainly people who've stood as candidates and things like that, or been like yourself, quite vocal on demonstrations, who've lost their jobs rather than ordinary members. But it's happened to ordinary members as well. Things like when the BNP membership list got leaked, and that quite a few people got either. I think some of them managed to talk their way out of it by saying their name had been added to the list maliciously, or they'd paid for someone else's membership on their credit card or something like that, made excuses for how their name got on the list. But a lot of people got in trouble over that. I did some work self-employed at a prison, and we was meant to submit our details for records checks, and I submitted mine to my employer, but he didn't. I say my employer, the guy I was doing the job for, but he didn't put it through. But I managed to get in just using my passport for a while. But it can. Fortunate enough, I was working for someone that was reasonably understanding, and but for a lot of other people, you could find yourself having months out of work, like you have and other people have.
Yeah, it's absolutely it's disgraceful the bias that exists in this country where. My mum works for the NHS, and when all this stuff happened with Subri, excuse me, sorry, they approached her and said, oh, she should contact Unison for help. And my mum was like, are you being serious? Like, Unison again? But this is the trouble, because, like, before, when I was doing my activism 2018, I was still working a bit, and I was working at a warehouse. It was Caterpillar in Leicester. And the team leader was a proper far lefty, you could tell. And I'd gone into the canteen one day and ended up having an argument with Unison. And then the next day I was gone. It was only a temporary contract, but it's just, you have to be and it shouldn't be like that, because we're supposed to live in this free and tolerant liberal democracy where all opinions are valued and welcomed, and they're not. If you're white and working class, or if you have opinions that don't fit with the mainstream, they demonize you and treat you like absolute rubbish. So it's we definitely suffer a lot more than the left. I'm just going through one of the comments. I think it was P Dunn. I just got my way. James, we know TR, Nobby, Britain First for Britain are grifters. They all know we're in a serious situation. They are cowards. They call us names hoping to take the attention away from their treacherous grifting ways. And part of it's gaslighting, isn't it? They accuse others of what they're guilty of in order to try and discredit them. And it's a shame, really, because the unity that was there in 2008, that will never 2018. I won't even say but there was thousands and thousands of people out on the streets, and I don't think that's going to come back. I think that they've ruined it, in particular the Civna anti-Islam movement, because it's not just Islam and Muslims that we have to focus on. There's a variety of issues, a whole range of issues that they don't want to focus on. Like, they don't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. They didn't want to talk. I mean, there was an awful article that TR News had written about the poor girl that was raped in Cyprus by the 12 Israelis. Now, if that had been 12 Muslim men that had raped her, Tommy Robinson would have probably done a protest for it. Then they'd have done everything. But, it's that they have selective problems, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's definitely double standards. It's like they condemn halal meat, as I would, and I'm sure you would as well. But then they're quiet about kosher meat, and then they condemn Sharia law, but are quiet on Talmudic law and things like that. And you've got the Shomrim patrols and the Sharia patrols, and obviously they're critical of one and not the other. When really, it's like, the way I see it is, I'm not against anyone else. I'm just for white people. As long as there's no conflict of interest, as long as they don't affect us. I don't care what they get up to in their own countries. All these different foreigners.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, you can't have. I think the idea of a liberal democracy, it can't work if you're going to keep flooding the country with the whole of the third world, because this is the thing. Everyone is too liberal, and they keep it's almost like they try and paint us as we're all the same. Let's welcome these people into our country because we're all the same. And it turns out that we're not all the same. Cultures are different, races are different, and ultimately it's about protecting our people. This is our ancestral homeland. This is, our ancestors made this land great. So why should it be that all of their hard work, blood, sweat, tears has gone into creating this great country, then for that to be passed down to people that don't deserve it, people that will abuse it, and people that treat us like absolute rubbish? And then the hardest part out of all of this is thinking that it's actually other white people that are doing this to us. Your Boris Johnsons, every single prime minister we've had has screwed us over, and people need to wake up to Boris. And I heard the other day at the demonstration on Wednesday that they were actually chanting Boris's name as they march by Downing Street. I don't know how true it was because I wasn't there. It's what I got told by one of the lads, and it's crazy. This man has openly said that he's going to make it a lot easier for African migrants to make it to Britain. And I said the other day, it's almost like we've been deceived over the whole Brexit vote, because I voted for Brexit because I want us to be an independent sovereign nation, and yet at the same time we've made it much more difficult for other Europeans to come here, but a lot easier for Africans to come here. Was that part of the plan?
I think it was for them because they want cheap labour. I'm just going to respond to a question quickly. Yeah. New to this, is the National Front a registered political party? Yes, we are a registered political party. We're registered with the Electoral Commission, so that's a yes to that. Sorry, James, Karen.
Sorry, no, I'm just going through the questions. There was Where was it? I'd seen one. There was somewhat patriotic unity, but if we spent more time talking about how we move forward as nationalists and totally ignore these idiots as is just a distraction, Goddard for our leader. I am not a leader. I am honestly, I would never want to lead a party. I'm just somebody that I have to comment on things. I have to say something. I can't stay silent. I think my role is to try and bring as many people on board as possible, and that's going out into the streets and with a megaphone and doing it how we used to do in London, or posting flyers through people's doors. But I don't think I'm a leader at all, mate. So that's that. We've got a stroppy cow in here. Evening. There is one. Let's talk about the Israel loving grass busker. Actually, that's quite interesting because he tried. Well, he didn't try to. He made himself look really silly against you, didn't he? You had him and Based Amy approach you. That was last year, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. They accused me of being a traitor for not supporting Israel, but I'm not Israeli, so I don't see how that works out. And the way I see it is, people should be loyal to their country, not to other countries. When people have dual nationality, that's a conflict of interests, and so I've got no loyalty to any other country other than Great Britain. Obviously, there's other countries that are similar to Great Britain. The other sort of white English-speaking countries, America, Australia, and things like that, I've obviously got sympathies for. But my country is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and that is where my loyalty lies. I'm not a traitor for supporting Britain over Israel, and Busker and Amy just don't seem to make any sense. And coincidentally, I think they've had some sort of lovers' tiff at the moment, haven't they? They seem to be arguing.
Yeah, I think they've fallen out. I know there was Sorry, my fat fingers. Yeah, I know they've had a bit of a lovers' tiff. I was watching. I got sent a stream of it this morning, and they were appearing to apologise to the other Civic Nats that they'd annoyed. But the thing is, like, why I've got the gripe with civic nationalism is because they're deceiving people. They're telling people, they're making out look like they're this nationalist movement. And then when you scratch below the surface, you find out that they're just liberals that don't like Islam. That's literally it. And if it's not Muslims, they're not interested. And like we said, there's far more things in the world. And, these are the type of people that will call you racist and the usual buzzwords. And it's, for me, obviously, they're not right wing. And I have been saying this since the start of the year, but I said there'd be a major realignment of the right this year, and it seems to have happened. All the grifters have been put in one pot, which is for Britain.
You still there, James? Getting a bit quiet. Hopefully James will be back in a second. He was saying that all the grifters have been put into one pot, and that's for Britain, and that does seem to be the case. Well, not necessarily the case, because there are other. Are you there, James?
And then
obviously for Britain are what I call them for Israel. So do a few other people. Anne-Marie Waters has said that her party will always side with Israel, and that sounded to me, it sounded unconditional. So if you think of all the wars that British soldiers have been sent to fight in that are basically in defence of Israel or on behalf of Israel, it's like you can't have loyalty to British soldiers and to Israel. That's another complete conflict of interest. Anne-Marie Waters has claimed that a mosque got burnt down in Germany, and the Muslims that did it only got a small fine. But what actually happened there was that they set fire to a door and caused a few hundred euros worth of damage. They didn't burn synagogue. They didn't burn the synagogue down. They just done a bit of damage, and they got a fine for it, which is probably about right. So your picture's still there, James. I just can't hear you saying anything. You're not muted, so I don't know if you can hear me, but we've got pigs here. There is National Front membership growing now. It sort of goes up and down, really. I don't keep an eye on it all the time, because it's sort of like like I said, it does go up and down. But I think over the past couple of months, since all this Black Lives Matter stuff's happening, we've had an influx of new members. So it looks like we're going in the right direction at the moment. Obviously, there's all sorts of setbacks. Last year, the big setback we had was losing our website and most of our social media and things like that, which was down to both Hope Not Hate and the Parliamentary Home Affairs Select Committee that did that. So we had a big setback. We had a big setback last year, and we're coming back from that now. So it's a bit of a low point last year, but we're coming back this year. And obviously with all this lockdown, we can't. It's hard to get out having demonstrations and things like that. So that makes it a bit more difficult. But we're definitely moving in the right direction now. Busker has kidnapped him. Yeah, James may have possibly been kidnapped by Busker. Hopefully Busker isn't sitting on him or anything like that. Had to stream. Right, is that right? James, you there now?
Yeah, can you hear me? I don't know. I'm having problems with my phone. It's not
it sounds like you've got a bit of a signal issue. So you haven't been kidnapped by Busker. We had a little false rumour starting there that you may have been kidnapped by Busker. I'm pleased to say that isn't the case.
No. I've not been kidnapped by Busker. I don't think he'd dare come up to Manchester. He's a bit of a. The thing is, all of these people as well, though, they spend their whole time trying to discredit us, and then we have to do videos constantly to make people aware of what's going on, because some people might not see it. So we're constantly at a disadvantage. But like I said, I definitely believe that things have changed for the better this year, and more people are starting to wake up, and even like, I'm going to say this, but even stuff to do with like the 14 words. Like, I know Tommy's going off on this mad one because I dared to say them to a veteran, but it's true. If we don't say those 14 words and we don't act on those 14 words, then we're not going to be able to save this country. We're not going to be able to save the West. And then ultimately, we end up like South Africa as second-class citizens. I mean, I don't want to live in a country where my rights are impeded and ultimately is less safe. And that's what it's about. I suppose that's why all of us are activists, because we want to do what's best for our country and our people. And it's just a shame that there wasn't, all of the civic nationalists, instead of wasting their time going down the wrong path, if they come over to our side, you never know, we might be able to make a real go of it with the politicians. But then I still believe the voting system needs to be changed for us to have any sort of a chance.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said about money as well, because these grifters, I think a lot of the money comes in from Israel and NGOs and things like that. So proper nationalists wouldn't get given the same money that these civnats get given. I found an article in about 2004 that said that the Israeli government were paying students at Tel Aviv University to comment and like comments on, at the time it was newspaper comment sections, and they had a budget back then of about £100,000. So basically, if you back then had gone on a newspaper thing and said something pro-Israel, you would have got loads of likes and lots of people agreeing with you to try and sway opinion. And you can only imagine that that's increased since now. So it's probably millions or tens or even hundreds of millions. If you talk about £100 million or whatever, that's just like a couple of helicopters, isn't it? It's like a defence budget. That's like, it's a pittance. So what I think happens is people like Busker and that they do a silly video, and because it's pro-Israel, then they get given money for it, not directly off the Israeli government, but they probably got lots of middlemen and that who are commenting on their videos and liking their videos and giving them money, and they probably only get a couple of £100 a month or something just for doing Israel's dirty work.
When I wasn't awake to everything as I was, and I had people telling me all the time, there's a few people in the chat that all say they were trying to tell me for ages. I had just these professors from Israel that used to email me, but although they wanted you to focus on was Islam. They only wanted you to focus on the Dawah teams. They didn't want you to talk about anything else. Just focus on Islam. Just focus on Islam. And that's what they do. And like I said, there's bad people in all walks of society. Ideally, I don't want Muslims living here. I just want this country to be for our people. I don't believe that we should be inviting in people that believe in mutilating children's genitals, that believe in marrying children, and ultimately that they're not the same as us. So why are we bending over backwards to appease these people when they've got their own countries in the Middle East and North Africa? that we should be preserving these countries. I know I say this all the time, but if you have to keep saying it, because there might be somebody new that's watching the stream that's never watched a stream before, and then they might, and they can go down that journey. That's the way I try and look at it anyway.
Yeah. I think the reason they support mass immigration is well, there's sort of two main, from a sort of Tories perspective, there's two main reasons. One, that it pushes up house prices and down wages, so you have to sort of work harder to pay more rent. And secondly, it's to water down the British people. When I was sort of a teenager or whatever, in the area I lived, there's quite a few ethnics by then, but most people were white. Lots of people knew each other going back generations, and people would stick together. But they want to create an environment where people don't know their neighbours. I'm quite fortunate where I'm staying at the moment. We know quite a lot of the neighbours and things like that. But the area I used to live in, where I was brought up, everyone had sort of moved out and new people had moved in, and there was sort of no one to stick together. So I think if the government's tyrannical and people are still communicating together, know their neighbours, have a strong support base and stick together, they won't tolerate it. But then when people are working every hour God sends and don't know their neighbours, it makes us a lot easier to manipulate. Alex Stevens, where's Tony from London? Yes, that's correct. I'm from South London.
And I just want to say, we've got Vinny Sullivan in the chat. Evening, mate. He said he's given this a share as well. You should get Vinny on one night as well, Tony.
Hi, Vinny. Thanks for the share, and that I'll invite you on sometime. You're welcome anytime.
What made you get involved in activism?
Who, me? I don't know. When I got out of the army, I sort of I could see how a lot of things had changed, and I joined the British National Party at the time. And I didn't get active at first. I had about 3 or 4 years where I was just a sort of card-carrying member, but I wasn't helping out with anything. And then around sort of 2005, I started getting involved. Eventually, I became Croydon organiser for the BNP, Croydon and Sutton organiser. When things went wrong with the BNP, I came over to the National Front, and things have just sort of gone on from there.
Just to mute my mic. Yeah, that's it. Because I often every time I speak to somebody on the show, I always try and ask them what made them get involved in it. Because sometimes you think to yourself, I've often had thoughts about, have I done the right thing? And I think, each time I have, because it's about standing up for what you believe in. And how long did you serve in the army for?
About just under 3.5 years. Yeah,
so you served your country.
Yeah, I only did. The only tour I did was Kosovo. Was the only tour I did. I didn't do any Northern Ireland or anything like that. I was meant to go to Bosnia. We was training for that when Kosovo came up. So,
but you've still served your country though, and you deserve.
Yeah.
Like this is different. This is like for me, and I'm going to mention that horrible little dwarf again. But this is how a veteran, like how you conduct yourself, is how veterans should conduct themselves. Not like that, swearing, making false allegations against people, and ultimately giving the movement a bad name because it ended up in Hope Not Hate. I mean, they did christen me as the new Nazi boy. Which I was going to ring. I was going to do a test. I was going to ring the Metropolitan Police and ask them if somebody from Hope Not Hate would be arrested because they have called me a Nazi, which is the same thing that I did to Subri. So surely it's a Section 5 public order where words have caused me harassment, alarm and distress. But the last time I rang the police to put a complaint in, which was about being wrongfully arrested, they ended up giving me new charges, which was for Lizzie Dearden for allegedly calling her a scumbag at my first court case. So we can never win with the police. Like we've this, and we're at a major disadvantage all the time. But it shows the character of the people of our movement. We're the ones that are always under attack, yet we're still making content. We're still raising awareness and we're still spreading the message, and I think a lot of people are envious of that, especially on the side with the lower IQ. And I know they're going to be watching this, and no doubt they'll be streaming after this. So let's give them something to stream about.
I think the difference, the two sort of main differences between you calling Anna Subri a Nazi and Hope Not Hate calling you a Nazi. And both of them sort of go in different directions. Because you called Anna Subri a Nazi to her face, so they could say that as intimidation because you were actually there. Where Hope Not Hate called you that online. But then you could look at it from the other point of view, where no one's likely to actually believe that Anna Soubry is a Nazi and go and do her harm because of what you've said. Whereas what Hope Not Hate have said about you, people like the Little Veteran and some of these other hangers-on and people like that could believe that you was a Nazi and actually do you harm. So it would be more likely to actually cause physical harm to come to you, but it would have been less intimidating at the actual time. And I'd actually, to be fair, I'd actually like to invite someone from Hope Not Hate on here at some stage, because we all know they're a despicable organisation, but they keep talking about terrorism in the so-called far right, and the threat, which apparently is as bad, if not worse, than Islamic terrorism. I don't know how they work that out, but apparently it is. And but the thing is, if you look at not organisations, but you look at people that were previously involved in National Action or something like that, and we're talking about young, impressionable men who are idealistic and quite hot-headed in a lot of cases, and Hope Not Hate are deliberately pushing them into isolation. And all the attacks that so-called terrorist attacks that have been committed by people that they brand far right have been lone wolf, haven't they? There's not been a so-called far right organisation that's been carrying out terrorist attacks in Britain. Everything, David Copeland, Thomas Mayer, people like everything has always been lone wolf. So by taking all these people from National Action and deliberately pushing them into the wilderness and other people, organisations like Hope Not Hate are, in my opinion, they're encouraging terrorism rather than preventing it. I just want to answer this question. P. Dunn's just said, I've never really took much notice of far right politics in the past, but now I'm into it. The NF has a bad reputation. Would you change the name of the party? It could help. That has been said quite a few times, both to the National Front and to the British National Party. But what tends to happen is, if you either start a new party or change the name, nobody's heard of you, and then by the time people started to hear about you, they've already given you a bad name. So it's not. I can understand how with certain companies and things like that, rebranding can be a big help. But when it comes to, I'd say fringe politics, I don't know if that's the right term, but I'll say that for now. It doesn't really help, because as soon as you start a new party, Mark Collett started Patriotic Alternative, and they're already being called Nazis and slagged off and all the same things. So if they make it to the forefront of politics where they're a household name, their name would by then be just as slandered. And I say slandered because it's not fair to say it about the National Front, and it's not fair to say it about them either. So, but by the time they become a household name, they will be just as slandered as the National Front. And the same if the National Front, if we changed our name, people wouldn't know who we were for a while, and then we'd be just as slandered under the new name as we were under the old name. I hope that's straightened that out. There's another one here. Is Kevin still involved with the NF? Is that Kevin Bryan or Kevin Lozelle? I'm not sure which Kevin you mean. But that's about it for now.
Just got to say, Tony, I don't like with the especially with the Joe Cox thing. I've got to say this. Some people might not agree with it, but that whole Thomas Mayer, Joe Cox thing. All I'll say to people is you need to watch Richard D. Hall's documentary about it. That one's definitely not how it seems, 100%. In regards to what I'd like to see, it'd be great to see you and Mark have a chat at some point. Because I think, you know, for somebody like you, an ex-veteran, and Mark as well, who's got so much, political experience, I think you two being on a stream together and perhaps working together would be great for us as well. It just goes, like I said, the main reason to come on tonight as well was to show that we've got, because I'm sick of people, like I said, sick of people like Busker trying to give you a bad name and people like Glenn Saffer and that slagging you off when, what you stand for is pretty much the same as what we stand for. We want what's best for this country. You've served your country, and yet you've still got people, oh, he's racist, oh, he's this, oh, he's that. What is wrong with wanting to defend your people and your country? There shouldn't be anything wrong with that, should there?
Well, the thing is, they don't seem to have a problem with Israelis defending their people and their country. So it seems to me that they have a problem with white people as opposed to a problem with racism. They would never condemn them, the Israeli immigration policy or anything like that. They've got an ethno-nationalist immigration policy in Israel, so they wouldn't do it. I'll quite happily chat with Mark. It'd be nice. I've met Mark a few times. We're both in the BNP at the same time. I didn't really speak to him then because he was up north and I was down south, and I was still fairly new by the time he left, and I left like a couple of years after him.
How old are you, Tony? I'm interested. Is that being rude?
No, that's all right. I'm 43. Yeah. I think Mark's a couple of years younger,
Only
hasn't
a
he?
couple of years older than me. Only a couple, but you look a lot younger.
All right, thanks very much. Cheers.
I think he's a bit older, actually.
I'm losing you there a bit, James.
Funny, bear with me. Yeah, my phone keeps going. I don't know what's going on. I've got full signal on the phone, but it keeps going funny. So yeah, just if there's anybody in the chat that's got any questions as well, we're here to answer them as well. I'm just trying to come on. So I'll never do this on my phone. Get make sure I'm on my PC.
Yes, it's come up again about Nobby wearing a World War II cap badge on his beret. I've meant to look into that. I didn't really have a chance.
What's that about?
I don't know because he's a different regiment to me. I'm not used to his cap badge, so I don't really. I'll have to look into that to see if it is an out of date one or whatever. Yeah.
Because I know that apparently he served in the RAF, but then why would he be wearing a beret from World War II or the Royal Artillery?
I didn't think he was RAF, was he? Or I thought he was.
Apparently,
I thought he was like an Anglian or something. Yeah.
I'm not too sure. Like, so I got told he was RAF, but I can't comment because I don't know. Well, maybe he'll come out. I'm sure he'll do a response to this at some point with Busker and the rest of them, where they brand us as nasty far right racists because we want what's best for our country. It's a shame as well. Just going to go back to wanting a debate from these people, because it seems that especially in regards to Tommy, they'll sit down with Black Lives Matter activists and Black Lives Matter supporters and people and they'll get Lister on their live streams and all these other undesirables, but they won't actually sit down with genuine nationalists. And to me, that's because they're hiding something. Like if you didn't have anything to hide, then you'd sit down and talk and you'd hash the problems out, wouldn't you? And that's the thing. I've come to realize now that a lot of people that I've been involved with over the past 2 years, that they just don't want the same as what I want, and I just can't. I don't think you can. I couldn't go back to that, to the everyday, being out on the streets, being active with, because there's not. I think you're gonna have to grow. Well, you're gonna have to get people involved again. But it's about. I suppose what I'm trying to say is I've come to the point now where I know what I stand for, what my values are, what my beliefs are. And ultimately, I don't want to stand with people that are flying the LGBT flag and that are supporting abortion and that support immigration just as long as it's legal. I don't want to stand with those people. And for me, these people, they're not right wing. They're not nationalists. They're just, what are they, centrists that veer out to the right every now and again? They're not our people, and I don't think we should be concerning as much time with them, because there's a lot of them that will never change their opinions.
Yeah, there's some good points there with the LGBTQ, all the other letters that sometimes get added onto it. Like if you think about Rotherham and things like that, and how many children were being groomed and abused up there by Muslims. But then if you think about the education system, and virtually every school-aged child is being mentally abused with this LGBTQ thing. It's getting promoted, isn't it? It's not getting taught as a warning. They're not warning kids that if they engage in homosexuality, they could land up wearing an adult nappy by the time they're 50 or anything like that. It's being portrayed as a healthy lifestyle, which it isn't. And
it's not though,
no.
Is it? Sorry, carry on.
The same with the abortions and things like that. Like I think at the moment, the legal age for abortion is 22 weeks, and but babies have been born and alive and lived at that age. You're talking about like not even really a fetus. You're talking about a viable human life that could get a woman, technically, I don't know if it's ever happened or not, but could theoretically be driving to an abortion clinic to have an a legal abortion could be involved in a bad car crash, get rushed to hospital. The doctors, not knowing her wish to have an abortion, could actually deliver the baby alive, and that's what we're talking about, an actual baby that is almost ready to be born. Loads of babies have been born at sort of around that age and survive now.
It's horrible though as well, because they give it all this, it's my body, it's my choice, or what, and then you get all these feminists go, well, what about rapes, and what about exceptional circumstances, and they make up just 2% of these cases.
Yeah.
So perhaps teach people to use contraception or keep your legs closed. I'm sick and tired of, and because these women that do it, they're the same hypocrites that will go out they'll go out on the weekend and put a Black Lives Matter t-shirt on. Well, how about unborn lives matter? And this is the problem. The right, for too long, it's been, you've had Tommy Robinson and the rest of these degenerates that have attempted to liberalize it with transvestites. Oh, we're pro-LGBT, we're pro-Jew, we're pro-brown. I'm sorry, but people have had enough of it. People can see through it, and people want authentic nationalism where we put our own people first. So
yeah, and the thing with the rapes as well, because I've heard a few people use the rape excuse about what about a woman that's raped, but there's three things as well. I know obviously it's a very stressful thing, and they're probably not thinking rightly at the time, but if the sooner a woman who's raped comes forward, the greater the chances are of catching. There's still be DNA there, so that there's a better chance of catching the perpetrator. Secondly, if they do have to have an abortion, they can have it at where they just take a tablet after a week or whatever, or a couple of days. So it's a lot less. The fetus hasn't developed anywhere near as much. And thirdly, AIDS. They've made so much advancements in treating people if you get infected with HIV or AIDS, either through rape or getting pricked with a needle. They reckon that if someone who's literally just been infected with it takes HIV medication, they can actually be cured, like 99% of the time. Whereas if you actually wait for it to develop, then you're sort of stuck with it for life, or you are stuck with it for life. So there's three reasons, like the abortion, the AIDS, and catching the perpetrator. So it's so important for any woman who's raped to come forward as soon as possible, rather than waiting and having a sort of midterm sort of abortion.
When just what I was going to say to you is, obviously we've seen what's been going on at Dover, and with what's been going on with these, and what I can grasp is that there's obviously a lot of people that are making a lot of money out of this. The government are paying circa so many billions per year to house these migrants, but then we've got, this is the thing that I can't work out. Why more people aren't out there? There's people that shouldn't be in this country that are living in 4-star, 5-star hotels, and yet we've got British people that are sleeping on the streets. Like, that's how bad this situation is. And then on top of that, we've got these draconian measures being ushered in by Boris Johnson's government. And I can see a second lockdown coming. It's just when the paper, I know people say, I don't believe what's in the papers, but you look at the language they use and the way that they write things, and it's all warns of a second national lockdown, and all these cases are on the up. And at the end of the day, what is coronavirus? What is supposed to be a common cold? It's what they've shut our economy down for. They've shut our countries down for this. It's a playbook. It's like your free trial of the New World Order to see how you get on with it, isn't it? And it's scary. Yeah. It really is scary, because this legislation's in place for up to 2 years, isn't it? And they've got a lot more power than most people realise.
Yeah, and the hospitals have been largely empty, haven't they? They've not. I think at one stage they was getting a bit busy when there was like almost 1,000 people a day allegedly dying. But most of the time, there's so many operations and all that have been cancelled, and I know quite a few people that were going through some sort of medical process before it all started, and just more or less been forgotten about. They've done a few online consultations and haven't been having proper checkups or surgeries or lots of things people have missed out on. So it's not as if the NHS has been overrun. And do you remember all them silly dances the doctors and nurses were doing? I'm sure some of the doctors and nurses were working very hard, but they had time to learn dance routines, and they weren't social distancing doing them, and it just made a mockery of the whole thing.
Do you know what one of the funniest things out of this lockdown was? Sorry to bring this toad up, but being told off by hearing Glenn Saffer kicking off because people weren't clapping on their doorsteps for the NHS. It's like, yeah, we're all gonna behave like obedient North Koreans and clap because the dear leader tells us to.
Yeah.
It's this year has sent people absolutely insane. I can't believe it. We've got what, 3 months left of 2020, and what's everyone done this year other than argue with each other online?
Yeah. Yeah, because most people in the NHS, like especially if they're doing particularly long shifts, which is what we're supposedly clapping them for, would either be at work or in bed or something, wouldn't they? So I went out and clapped them. I've been staying at my parents at the moment because I'm in the process. I'm looking to buy a place in Northern Ireland. So so I went outside with my parents and we clapped, done a bit of clapping and that. But I started to get annoyed with it after a while when I was seeing them doing all their silly dance routines and things like that.
Oh, it's annoying when you see the police. Sorry, just to read one of the comments as well from Fairmaid. What was it? 35,000 FNATs died from, what was it, COVID, I think. Oh, that was the comment there. So, obviously everyone's focusing on the illegal immigration, but legal immigration is the one that needs tackling. What do you think? I don't think Priti Patel is going to do anything in regards to it, if I'm being honest. But, this is what the concerning thing is about the Tories, because they have got that 80-seat majority, so they can pretty much do whatever they want. And I remember I saw your stream yesterday from, was it from the Home Office, and you said that been nationalists that have been going down there for years demonstrating outside there. Yeah. So
that was Lona House in Croydon.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind paying that a visit at some point when I'm next down in London. Maybe we should try and organise something. But do you think? Do you think the government are just going to keep pumping these people into our country, or do you think there'll come a time when it actually stops? Because it can't be sustainable. You can't keep having like 600,000 people plus a year coming into this country.
Well, they can probably keep it up for quite a while because, like where I get the train into London, and they started where they've been building so many properties near the railway lines, and that like where you go into Battersea and also to the north of London around King's Cross, and there's like you get a small bit of land where there might have been a pub, and then all of a sudden they stick 100 flats there, and you think, I don't remember the pub being that big. They just sort of squeeze things into every single piece of land possible. And I've heard people talking about the population of London. I think it's about sort of 10 million or just under now. But they're talking about it could be like 20 million people within like a decade or something, where they're literally building on every spot of land. So many offices. Like where I live, there used to be quite a lot of offices. Or where I used to live, there was quite a lot of offices. But they converted so many of them into flats that they're creating so many more properties, mainly flats rather than houses, but houses as well, that an extra 600,000 a year, that's like 6 million a decade. They could probably keep that up for a century and double the population. Most probably wouldn't have hardly any land left, but they could theoretically keep doing that.
Yeah, so they're gonna destroy our countryside. So they're not actually conserving anything at all, and they're frauds. And people need see when I started not when I started my activism, but I remember saying last year at some point we needed to form like a momentum style group to take over the Tory party, because that was the only way that we'd be able to do it. But I don't even think that wouldn't be possible. It's just corrupt. I actually think if we are going to change this politically, then how? Obviously we need to change the voting system, which would be to proportional representation, but then we'd never get that referendum through, because the government, any ruling party, isn't going to accept that referendum, because they know full well that that's the end of them ruling. Labour and Tories are quite happy for each other to be in power, because they know after say 4 to 8 years they're going to be back in power again. So what are your thoughts on it? Maybe I'm asking too many questions, but
yeah, it's quite far away, really, isn't it? Well, if you look at the EU referendum, the Tories didn't want to give us that, did they? But they thought they'd get away with it, and they were sort of pressured into doing it. And the way I see it is like patriotic politics, well, same as a lot of fringe politics, is it's a matter of being like an outrider. You sort of push ideas and and policies, and then try and force them to become more mainstream, and then eventually it puts pressure on either the Labour Party or the Conservative Party to do something about it. I know the Lib Dems were it was part of their manifesto in 2010 to have proportional representation, but then they changed it for that. Remember that we had a referendum on it to have. It wasn't proportional representation, but it was that other sort of weird type, wasn't it? It was that second preferential vote, or what, I'm not even sure what it's called, but it was like a stupid, unnecessarily complicated system of voting that people just voted against anyway. But if they feel they can get votes out of it, they would, like, if there was going to be a close election between Labour and the Conservatives, and Conservatives fought by offering us proportional representation, they might get an extra term in office. Because a lot of the time they don't think further than one term, do they? They've got, and if Boris Johnson can do an extra 4 or 5 years in Downing Street, that's enough for him. He's not as concerned about the following Prime Minister.
It's put me in twice now. Sorry, my phone logged me out.
Shall I get rid of one of you, or do you want to log one of them out? Or
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, you can hear me now.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Honestly, awful.
I thought you was ganging up on me then on your own.
No, I mean you. But just to go back, so I'm just trying to think what else is coming up. There's a big demonstration on Saturday, isn't there, in London? The anti-vaccine, anti-5G demonstration? I think.
Yeah. I haven't made up my mind whether I'm going along to that yet. I might go along. I might not. I might even have a trip down to Dover or something. Go and do a bit of filming and that down there.
Well, I was going to say that to you, Tony. I was thinking about taking a trip down to Dover now as well, because I think the little veteran and that, they've been banned from the area, so it's only fair somebody else goes down there and captures the footage. But obviously not this week, the week after, I'm back in court. I know John came, one of your friends came with me last time. John, brilliant guy. I love him. Not like that, but he's always been very supportive of me. He's came to both of my Supreme Court cases, and he was at the pre-trial for this. But this is the thing, like I still can't believe I'm getting prosecuted for allegedly calling a journalist a scumbag. But then it all makes sense, because when you look into her, Lizzie Dearden, I think, her husband is a former Tory MP, and I think the reason they're doing this is because, well, obviously they had to launch an urgent investigation from the Supreme Court case for the way that we conducted ourselves. But it's crazy that they'd spend thousands of pounds of taxpayers' money to prosecute me for words again. And I mean, what sort of trial is it going to be? It's weird. How do you answer that?
More, yeah. Yeah, so when you called her a scumbag, she was hanging around outside the court or something, was she, when you called her the...
So allegedly, I don't. Do you know what? I walked out of the court case, walked out of the trial, and she was trying to walk in, and the security stopped her and said, "Have you got a press pass?" And she said, "No." And he was like, "Well, you're not coming in. Number one, it's full, and two, you haven't got a press pass." And allegedly, I turned around and laughed and said, "Haha, you're not coming in, you scumbag." But if that's against the law, then it's crazy. She's also. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, because, like I said, I've never heard of anybody being taken to court for calling someone a scumbag, like, ever.
Yeah, because it's not like, from how you've just explained it, it sounds like an off-the-cuff remark as opposed to being aggressive or anything.
Yeah, so this is the thing. So this is a woman that has wrote over, I think there was 16 or 17 articles about me, lying in almost every single one of them. And this is the thing. This is the problem with these people. They're happy to say things about you and write things about you, but when you go and approach them and ask them why they've said it, then they turn into dust. They evaporate. They don't want to know. And but it shows what we're up against. It's bollockless losers. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed this chat tonight, mate. And I'm glad that we've done it. So
it's been good.
Ruffle a few of those feathers on the Civic side, but But, you know, so what? People need to realise as well that we do need to start coming together, and we need to be coming together with people that actually have our best interests at heart. They're not in it for money, and they're not in it just to be controlled opposition, which is what a lot of these frauds are. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. What you were saying about the press as well, though, if you consider how they've behaved over the years, doorstepping people and things like that, knocking at people's neighbours' houses to ask what they think about them and stuff like that. A friend of mine a few years ago, they camped out outside his house and followed his mum down the shops and things like that. So comparing things like that to just calling somebody a scumbag or something, it's a one-way thing, isn't it? It's like they've got a license to do whatever they want to try and ruin people's lives. And then as soon as you just call them a scumbag for doing it, then all of a sudden you're in the wrong and getting in trouble for it.
Yeah, it's rubbish. I had after that Subaru incident, I had the press outside my mum's house for about 3 days. They wouldn't leave her alone. I had them go to my nan's house, knocking on her back door. You know, an elderly 80-year-old woman, and they're going around knocking on her back door, asking if she'll speak about me. They went to an old nightclub that I used to work at and got pictures of me dressed as Santa from when I was 18 and put them into into newspaper articles. They literally they are parasites. These people are parasites. They earn money on other people's misfortunes. And do you know what? I wouldn't mind if, you know, these people actually told the truth. But one, they said I was middle class. I come from a leafy suburb of Leicester, and I went to a middle class school, and I'm from a 2-parent household. I come from a single parent household. Yeah, I like that comment, what Sven's just said as well. This is what it is as well. There's a lot of people that need to come together, and I'm not a representative of PA. I fully support PA. I don't speak for them, but I agree with a lot of what they say, and I like you as a person, and this is why I decided to come on tonight.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. It's definitely been interesting. I'm going to look to start doing maybe some sort of chat once a week with someone. I'll probably do either like a Tuesday or a Thursday or something. I'm not. I haven't made up my mind yet. But what I'll probably do is I'll probably do a Thursday this week. I'll email a couple of people, try and find another guest for Thursday, and then do that. Also, we have our national. This is like my own sort of chat, but we also do a proper National Front meeting most Sundays at 11 o'clock on Zoom. So, and that's open to non-members as well. So anyone who wants to come on and chat NF business, obviously this is a broader conversation about lots of different things. But anyone wishing to chat NF business can come on 11 o'clock Sunday mornings.
Yeah, you should definitely. Like I said, you should definitely get Mark on. Just to go through one of the comments as well. Can you talk about scumbag, busker, bully, and Tracy? I do want to mention that as well, because I know Tracy is fighting for justice for Josh, Harry, and George, and the way that she's been slandered over the past, how long has it been going on now? 18 months to 2 years, and them trying to label Tracy. I'm going to say that as saying that she was a member of the National Front. Tracy's never been a member of the National Front, so the way that I look at things, even if she was, which she isn't, I wouldn't care anyway. But I want to clarify that, because there's a lot of people that lie about Tracy, and she's one of the most genuine people you'll meet. She is fighting for her son, and she's fighting for George and Harry as well. And it's just a sad state of affairs when you've got so-called patriots that are spending their time trying to discredit a story about 3 children that need justice. Those 3. Everybody knows the story of what happened, and we should be making sure that we get behind her. And I just want to say this as well. It goes to I'm fully behind Tracy and justice for our boys. We might not share the same political opinions, but it just goes to show that you can be friends with somebody that doesn't share the exact same beliefs as you. And like I said, I'll always stand up for Tracy, and I'll always stand up for the boys. But I'm just sick of people trying to use me to attack her. Sorry to go on, but I just wanted to say
that's
this,
right.
Yeah. I know they'll be using it later. I am what I am. I am me, and my opinions and my own opinions. And like I said, it's been an eventful 2 years, but I'm in a good place right now. I know what's wrong, I know what's right, and I'm on the right path. So yeah, I just wanted to clear that up. But no, I do want to say thank you for allowing me on this evening, Tony. I am honoured to be the first guest. I'll see if I can find that picture of us together on the day I confronted Subri. I remember you saying to me, you said, "Don't put that out yet." You were like, "You don't want any hassle."
But
that's
you've
what
had the hassle now, so it doesn't matter.
Well, no, but you're a genuine person and you've served our country. So you'll have to come over onto my channel one night. I am under attack from the far left on it at the minute. So I'm going to have to. I think my strike runs out in about a week, so I won't be doing any lives until that strike's expired.
Okay, I'd just like to say that I agree with you about Tracy, and it's disgusting the way they've treated her, and like the truth means nothing to them. Like they've said that she's a National Front member when she's not. I think when they first started linking me to her, I don't think I'd even spoke to her properly. I've spoke to her a couple of times now. I literally only said hello or something. I'd never actually had a proper conversation with her at that time. They've dug John Jones out because John's a lovely bloke. He's like coming up for 80 probably in a couple of years' time. He won't appreciate me telling that, but I've told it. And it turn up for anything. If anything patriotic's going on, whether it's ethno-nationalist, civic nationalist, anything like that, it Brexit, anything like that, he'd turn up. He'd try and do his best and help out with anything. When the yellow vest stuff was happening and he was going along to that, he was walking around with them. He'd probably like drop out towards the end, but he was still doing like a good 5 miles or so, well into his 70s, marching around London. And again, he's a lovely bloke, and they've dug him out as well. And these people, Busker, Amy, Tony Bugle, Red Pill Phil, they've got nothing to offer. All they can do is criticise other people and make things up. Like that Tony Bugle, she said that a veteran was walking past a pub going to a veterans demo, and she reckons there was about 20 National Front hanging around outside the pub, giving him Nazi salutes. And I've asked her, I said, well, who were they? And bearing in mind she supposedly knows that they're all National Front members, she doesn't know their names or their membership numbers or anything like that, because the story is just completely made up. And virtually everything they say is made up. Like Red Pill Phil was digging out Tracy and the yellow vest, saying that I shouldn't be allowed anywhere near it and things like that. And then I saw he put a video up from Nottingham where he pieced together other people's videos and photos and things, and he'd used some of my photos. He's saying that I shouldn't be allowed anywhere near demonstrations, and then I go to a demonstration and he's using my photos in his videos. So he's completely hypocritical as well. You still there, James?
There's hypocrites everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone's.
Yeah, the way I see it, it's best not to be so judgmental. Like, people do things that I disagree with, but unless they sort of like are properly out of order, you try just to let it slide. You try, like you said before, there's people that you don't exactly share the same political opinions with, but it doesn't mean you have to be enemies. You can just sort of agree to disagree on certain things. You still there? I'm not sure if James is still there. Has anyone else got any questions? Yeah. Busker is nothing, mate, just a gobshite. How dare he call Tracy names? Things he said and accused her of stuff. The poor woman and the children who got murdered. Yeah, I think Busker's he's a complete and utter weirdo. He's gone to the police trying to say that someone threatened to stab him, when I think there's no chance of that. He's just completely twisted all that, and that wastes the police time having to deal with things like that, and it's not nice for the person who's accused. Device not connected at the moment. Add to stream. That's it. Welcome back, James.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say I'm going to have to wrap it up anyway, because I've got to go and get all the stuff ready for tomorrow. But thank you for having me on this evening. I do really appreciate it, mate. And let us know.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah, we've gone just over an hour now. So I'll try and sort something out with someone for Thursday. I'm not sure what I'll be doing yet, but I'll try and sort something out for Thursday, probably about 9 o'clock But okay then, James, thanks very much for coming on, and thank you everyone who's watched and contributed with the comments and questions and things. It's been a pleasure, and I quite like this platform. It does seem pretty good, so I look forward to doing more. Thank you very much, James. Thanks, everyone.
No problem. Take care. Speak to you all soon, guys.
Take
Bye.
care, mate. Bye. Bye, everyone.